What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Demastered, episode 102. I'm your host, Joe, and as always, I'm joined by Charlie.
102 episodes.
Yeah.
I need to get the fuck out of here.
And the lovely, seductive Tom.
He's never... He's.
A
I don't
wolf.
care how many weeks we do
A
this.
wolf
I don't
can
care.
fuck 6 times a day, but once wearing the skin of Liam Neeson, can fuck 7 times a day.
Listen, I don't care how many episodes we do, how much alcohol and illegal drugs you consume. This will never be sexy. This will never be funny.
This is our weekly video game podcast. The three of us get together every week, talk about games we played, game news, and whatnot. So let's jump right into it with games we've been playing.
Yeah.
I'm going to start this week because I'm a
Okay.
selfish host.
It is pretty selfish. I took my shirt off for you, and you insist on starting yourself. You think these sexual treats would entice you to let me go first?
No, it actually made me go, you know what? Tom doesn't need to talk right now.
Yeah,
that's fair.
He needs to think about
He
his
needs to
actions.
stop talking, actually.
So this week, I was planning on coming in and talking about my first 10 hours of Mass Effect Andromeda because of the EA Access trial. So I downloaded the night after we recorded last week because we recorded a little late. And I get home, I install it. I find out it's live, so I install it. Play like the first 30 minutes, you know, going through like very early dialogue. Crash land on the first planet, like after you finally go down there.
Spoilers, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Game, really fucking beautiful. Like
Yeah?
Well, you're playing it on high.
on a high,
ultra,
yeah, everything
ultra.
was set to ultra when I
Were you able to do Ultra?
yeah, it
I was
It
watching.
put me on
I was
Ultra.
watching a feed of that game running at Ultra on YouTube, and holy
Yeah.
fucking
It looks
shit.
good.
yeah, like we were watching the Giant Bomb stream, and
Yeah.
They're playing on a PS4.
they were playing on PS4, and like obviously that's a stream, so that's a whole
Yeah.
nother set of issues. It was
that's-
downgrading,
yeah.
but
I noticed the archive one was a lot smoother looking.
Also, like
Yeah.
a PC on Ultra compared to a PS4, even a PS4 Pro is like a generation ahead.
yeah. So when I got to that planet, it was just visually, I just couldn't. I really, it was something else to look at, really. So I go to get off for the night, close the application, make sure I closed it.
Did you get off for the night?
Well, afterwards I did,
Okay,
obviously.
all right. Making
So I
sure.
closed the application, but I leave. I went to go watch The Office on Netflix there. Fell asleep to it before. I usually always turn my computer off. Wake up the next morning, log onto my computer, and it's like, you have 1 minute in your trial left. You should.
Did you use that 1 minute wisely?
You should save. No, because I thought it was a bullshit
Use
message.
that
I'm
1
like,
minute to write them a fucking email.
I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I fucking closed out the application. No, it was still running somewhere in the background.
I think
So-
it's 10
so-
hours from you opening the
after,
application.
No, it's not. It's
After
games
doing
played.
some research, I realized this is a common issue.
Yeah.
It wasn't just you.
Yeah, I guarantee.
This happened to a few people.
It might be like not that I'm saying like EA is being insidious or anything, but I could see it being done on purpose. If you don't fully close out of Origin, they won't fully
Sure.
close out of the game.
That's some fucking bullshit, but yeah.
So I was a little disappointed with that. But then my friend got into the LawBreakers demo this weekend, or beta this weekend, or whatever it was. And his computer can't run it, so he gave me the code.
That's Cliffy B's Overwatch, right?
Yeah, Cliffy B's new game. It's under his new studio, Boss Key. That game's pretty fun.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that game. I suck at it.
I'm sure.
So and this is something that I learned from going from Overwatch from PS4 to PC, is that I'm outclassed on PC when playing there.
You need to like practice.
Yeah, and like Overwatch and even LawBreakers both support controller, but if you're playing with a controller against someone on a mouse and keyboard, you're gonna get
lose
fucked up
10 times
either
out of
time.
10.
So this is something I'd much rather play on my console, just because I think I'd be a little bit better at it. But it's very simple. Like you said, it's kind of Cliffy B's Overwatch, and it is and it isn't kind of. There's not like a ton of characters. There's one character per each class, for each side. So I think there's like 7 classes, and each side gets those 7 classes. I think there's one character per each, unless this was just a beta, and there's more to it. But it's kind of set up like Overwatch, where you get like this in-game credits currency, and you could buy like what you purchase is the skins and for your character and the guns and whatnot. So that's kind of where that comes from. But the basic actual gameplay of it is like you're on 2 sides. You're either with the law or you're with the breakers.
I'm always on the
That
breakers.
is very intuitive.
Yeah.
Fuck the law.
And these maps are set up where, and I played a few different game modes. The one that kind of I liked the most was called Turf War, which is kind of like a headquarters or capture the zone or something like that. Like
Okay.
something,
Hard point.
yeah, something along those lines. And what makes this kind of game a little more interesting is the fact that there's these like bubbles of anti-gravity spaces like in the middle of the maps. And so in here, like you can jump up, like, keep jumping, or like running in, like flying will kind of like shoot you across like at a high speed.
That's pretty cool.
And it leads to some like pretty crazy. I mean, I couldn't pull anything off, but I was dying a lot from the cool people doing their shit.
Usually how it goes.
Yeah, especially with me in first person shooters. But so I just like the level design. I thought the maps were pretty cool.
Is it called LawBreakers because of that? Because of like
What?
the physicsy stuff?
Yeah,
and it's
probably.
Like a pun
Yeah,
on that?
I don't know if there's any story to this. I think it's only
I don't know.
multiplayer.
It sounds pretty like on the head. You're the law and then the breakers.
Yeah, so
Pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say about it because I played
Cop fighters would have been another one.
I played like 5 or 6 games, but because I just kept getting my ass kicked every time, it was becoming more of a chore. I meant to look up if it was coming to PS4 or Xbox One, because I know for me personally, I'd probably be more inclined to play it on those systems, just
So-
because
Yeah.
that's where my skill level's at.
Does it have? I remember hearing that game has a mechanic where you can shoot behind you. Does it have that, or is it maybe that's tied to a certain characters? But I remember hearing about the game and the idea that you can, while you're running, you can like not aiming but shoot behind you.
That's interesting.
I did not see that.
I don't know.
No, I'm not
That'd
aware.
be cool.
It would be cool. No, I wouldn't put it past them. There seems to be a lot of cool stuff going on in that game. With just the way like your special abilities and stuff. Like I mainly decided to start playing as the guy who basically used a rocket launcher, and mainly because you didn't have to be so precise with that. You kind of just fire. That's kind of where I was getting most of my kills. But he also had this power move where it especially worked in the anti-gravity spaces when the headquarters or the capture point was in there, because you could jump up, you can get real high, and then you come in his kind of like almost ult, I would say, was kind of just this like power slam right into the ground, and that's also how it would get a lot of kills.
Did you sign up for that Quake Champions beta?
I did not. I heard good
okay.
things about it though coming out of PAX East.
Oh, that's good. That's
A
good.
lot of people were talking high about it. So, yeah, that was my non-Switch
Your
playtime this week.
experience breaking the law.
Yeah.
Non-Switch time. Did you play it at all this week?
What, Switch?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Joe always
Yeah.
switches.
Yeah, you did. You played it so you could come here and tell us that you played it.
Well, no, I completely beat Zelda now. Got all the shrines, got all the memories. I've talked a lot about it the past 2 weeks, so I'm not going to spend too
Did you
much
get all
time
the
on
perk
it.
fine.
seeds?
No, I did not. I saw what happens when you get 900. They literally give you golden
Great.
shit.
I love that.
Like
Yeah, that's some.
Yeah.
That's
Potential
fucked up.
spoilers if
Yeah,
you really care.
that's not a spoiler. I will
Don't
say
waste your time.
I will say multiple things could be considered a spoiler. That's not one of them. But what I will say is if you are playing the game and really enjoying it, you don't have to do all the shrines, but definitely do all the memories, which is a main quest you get pretty early on in the game, and it's completely optional. You don't have to do it to go fight Ganon or anything. But it adds a lot of context, especially the last 3 I got. Seem to really put in the idea of like what happened directly before Calamity Ganon like, kind of took over, and so that was really
Where he
cool.
opened up his Ganon clam shop.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. And especially the last one
Pull
was
the Bad
really
Batch.
cool. But it also does, if you find all the memories, it also unlocks another cutscene after the credits. And it's nothing like, major. It's not like here's our cliffhanger for Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah.
I don't
hardcore
imagine
coming.
Nintendo would do that.
Exactly. But it was just a nice little scene that for someone who, according to Switch, put in over 75 hours into the game, like really appreciated
Jeez.
the moment that
Yeah.
that was shown. So yeah, still highly recommend playing Legend of Zelda on
It's
whatever
on
the
my list.
fuck you can play it on.
I will
Yes.
play it before this year is over.
We got to get that Wii U back here.
Oh
But
yeah,
I don't know if I want to spend $60 on it though.
Why?
Because
it sounds like it's totally
just
worth
bought
that kind of money.
Horizon.
Oh well, not now. I thought you
Yeah,
were
that's
going to be seeing it
understandable.
back like in a few months.
I mean, and they're basically the same thing.
yeah, pretty much. They both
720p, 900p.
Yeah, exactly. Less than 30 frames per second sometimes. But the game I spent most of my week with was actually I Am Setsuna.
Mm.
Another fresh first release
Yeah.
with the Switch.
Well, you know what? I was thinking about it this week. This is like early console syndrome, I feel like, where this is a game that came out last year on PS4, but I had no intention of playing it on PS4. Or
And now because
or
you have a
PC.
console with not a lot to play, you're kind of be forced to
Yeah.
expand your horizons.
And I was kind of
a little bit.
looking at like I went online and was looking at my trophies for like early PS4 stuff and like see what kind of shit I played back then.
Yeah, you played
Yeah.
some shit.
Yeah, and it was like I played Contrast, which I really didn't like. Don't Starve, which I ended up liking, but
That's
I was
a cool game, right?
yeah, but I only ended up playing it because they gave it to me for free.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was fun looking at that list because you can clearly see where I cut the line off of like, oh, this is when I'm going to start playing good games.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is definitely a game because of that.
Yeah.
I want something to play and
So as someone, you're not someone who plays a ton of JRPGs.
No.
So how is this tickling your fancy when it comes to kind of being maybe an introduction to the genre for you?
I'm liking it a lot. Like it's very simple. Like I was saying on last week's episode, it's very straightforward, but something about it like really clicks with me. I especially like the character of Setsuna and Endir.
Ender?
Yeah,
That's the main guy you play.
Yeah,
as,
they
right?
never
He has
speak
that-
their
he has
names,
the
so
hat.
sometimes it's not easy to figure out what they're supposed to.
You just say Ender. It's
Yeah,
fine.
Endir. And I like the way they talk to each other, especially mine, like because you have some dialogue choices, and it's usually kind of, do I make them kind of like
I find that they
rough-
don't make a huge difference.
They don't. All it kind of feels the way it kind of is set up for me though. It kind of feels like it's more of a, do I want to be like a little more on edge towards Setsuna, or do I want to be a little more caring for, and like kind of I guess caring like for what her feelings are because of what she's doing. I didn't realize that Setsuna was a character I was going to meet very early on in the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like what they're doing with the characters. I like them all talking with each other. I actually don't have a problem with any of the main ones in my party so far. And I think I'm about to get another one who I think will.
What does he look like? Or
He's like a knight in the knighthood. Julian.
Knighthood. Oh, the lady. I know who you're talking about.
I don't know if she joins me or not, but
She does.
okay, that's right. I kind of thought that just from like a little bit of dialogue I had, but I like the world also. Like I liked what they're telling with the story and the kind of like little hints they give about like everything seems fine in one place, but like you can clearly tell it's a little off. And sometimes like in the short term, it's been set like it's come full circle with that kind of stuff. But also there's like bigger hints of like I'm going to the Lost Lands, I think is the end game. And as I keep going further into the game, I hear more people talking about that. And the more they talk about it, it seems a little more interesting each time.
It's funny. That game is so much like Final Fantasy X, almost to a T, just in terms of the general structure of you are guiding this person, this girl who basically has to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Might have to sacrifice yourself to solve a goal, but the world you're in is having a monster crisis, like kind of a very vague monster crisis.
Yeah.
There are even characters who are like direct mirrors to characters in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I was looking, I think the last JRPG I actually beat was Child of Light, which was also very...
That was a cool game. I never beat that.
Yeah, very like simplified, but that was also not even made by a Japanese publisher. That was made by Ubisoft, yeah, on one of their Canadian studios. But yeah, no, it doesn't. I think it only runs at 30 on the Switch, which I thought was a little odd.
Yeah, for a game like that, I don't think you would really notice it.
Yeah, it's really not. I've seen like
I didn't even realize it ran at 60 on PS4.
Yeah, like apparently it's like a 60, but it's for the handheld mode or something on the Switch for whatever reason. But once again, like just playing it laying down, I feel like is like, or somewhere like sitting in bed or something.
Did you get into the Sprite Night and tech system at all? I thought the techs were really cool.
Not as much
the Sprite Night. I'm still a little baffled by.
I've started getting into the Sprite Right, which
Sprite
is kind
Night,
of Sprite Night, which is like your magic powers and everything. Sometimes I'm confused about why I can't buy certain things and why I can buy certain things. But I've kind of gotten to.
I think a lot of that stuff is tied to characters. Like there should be a little symbol that will show you which character can use which ability.
No, I understand like who can use what ability, but sometimes it's like if I have, because you need the materials to buy it, but sometimes it would be like, oh, you just sold me these materials, but you're still allowed to buy what you need with the materials you just sold. Like it's really
it's
weird.
Bizarre. It's a
like,
bizarre system.
I don't fully understand it. I kind of just like have I have my three. I have Endir I use and the big brute guy and the little mage.
Yeah, so what's interesting about that game and something to pay attention to, because I didn't realize this until like maybe 5 or 6 hours in, is your leveling does not affect your strength or your attack power. That's all tied to your gear.
Oh yeah.
So essentially every time you go into a new town, buy whatever is there that will give you buffed
No, I've been buying mainly weapons.
Buff skills.
Like that's usually what I jump to, and
that's basically what all that stuff is
I
tied to.
think you can buy like rings too, and
the rings will help. The rings will add buffs and abilities, but like mainly the core of like your strength and your attack power and defense is all tied to the weapons.
Yeah, and I haven't found this game particularly hard either. Like it's been kind of an easy playthrough. Like I've gotten stuck on like 2 bosses at one point.
Yeah,
and then I realized one of the bosses. It's been out for a year. It's fine.
Go for it. Yeah,
remember this because you probably did it if you know about where I'm at with the knighthood. Remember when you get on the ship and the guy with the scythe pops up?
I know exactly what you're talking about because that gave me a hard time too.
Yeah, and I eventually just started because after like 3 times, like I picked up that he was like, we have to focus on that. I'm like, what if I just attacked this thing and I was just using Setsuna to heal me the whole time, and eventually that ends the fight, which I thought was interesting. I was wondering if maybe you could go the opposite way, but
No, you have
like
to
you have
focus
to
on that.
and just kind of let him hit you because he's going to hit you no matter what.
I know. I
but-
stopped playing. It's funny. I have it downloaded because we can get back to it. But I stopped playing a while ago because I got stuck in a boss, and I couldn't. It felt like a brick wall. Like I couldn't get past it.
That feeling sucks.
It really does.
Because I almost had that feeling like on that boat because I had no potions on me, and Setsuna was the only one that could heal
That
at
game
that
is
point.
harsh when it comes to like potions and ethers and elixirs because
See, now I just buy stuff like in ridiculous amounts, and I haven't had a problem
I
with
try
them.
to as well, but like there are points like particularly because I use Setsuna to heal constantly, and I use there's another character who has the fire magic. You know what I'm
Yes,
talking about?
I have him now.
I use them a lot, so you're constantly running out of MP, and you're constantly using up your other to refill that.
Yeah, right now, I actually don't use Setsuna at all. I use I have Aurora on
I gave Ender a
Ender.
healing ability
yeah,
too, which is very helpful.
that's who I have. So
Yeah,
so I have basically all three of my guys are just power attackers, and then he can also heal when I need it. But also, like I have my one guy who, if he does like his, you know how when you attack an enemy, if you hit the right button at the right time,
Yeah.
when your gauge meter is filled, it will do like extra damage.
it adds
I
a little flurry.
I have it that if I nail that, he actually gets healed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like while he's doing it, I found some ring or something like that, and I was able to put it on him. So I never have to worry about that guy's health, but the other two are a little more easily damaged.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun game. It's a fun game that's kind of like out of my element too, which I appreciate. And like a few months ago, I wanted to start like playing Japanese RPGs with Final Fantasy IV, like specifically the Final Fantasy series.
Well, it seems like a good entry point kind of to Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I should go back to Final Fantasy IV after I beat this game.
Imagine if that thing came to Switch.
Because this is a way
I
shorter.
mean, I already own on PC. I wouldn't rebuy
this is
it,
a
but-
way shorter game than those as well.
Yeah, I looked up on how long to beat, and it was about like I think they said 22 hours
Yeah.
was like the grand total time, and like if you
30
wanna-
hours or something for completion.
Yeah, 30 if you do like all the side quests and stuff, which I haven't run into many any side quests actually.
I heard like once you start hitting end game, that's when the side quests are opening up.
That would make sense. Okay, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I'm excited for Snake Pass in a few weeks. Fun little 3D platform where he plays a snake. Going on a plane. Can't wait to buy that. and play that.
Snake Pass does seem cool.
I'm hoping it's good.
But it's funny. You were talking before about like how when you have a new console, you kind of just take what you can get. And
Yeah.
it sounds like maybe that's what you're doing. a
Oh
little
no,
bit.
Snake Pass totally is one of those games I wouldn't. If it gets bad reviews, trust me, I'm not fucking touching
That's
it.
like
but-
that's like when early PS4, like 2014, when I was saying I was excited for Bound by Flame.
Oh my god, I remember
That
being
fucking
excited for Bound by.
shitty, goddamn terrible.
There wasn't
RPG.
there weren't any RPGs on this fucking system, and all I wanted was that. I remember buying that.
I bought that too.
A friend of mine beat it. He beat it, but he beat it.
That
beat it.
That was
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I played like
That's
maybe
awesome.
2 hours. That game was fucking
Yeah,
awful.
that game was bad. Yeah, but no, it's totally a symptom of that. I mean, like I'm gonna keep saying it too. Like I'm having a blast with the Switch. Totally wait till fall. Like that is the most appropriate time to
Yeah.
buy this thing, or if you're really into Splatoon.
Mario Odyssey.
Yeah. So that was it for me this week. Charlie, what have you been up to?
I am forcing myself to play Horizon.
Do you not like it?
No, it's
Or
not that I
is it
don't-
tiring you out?
It's chunky. It's kind of like I put it on, and I feel like the youngest kid from Malcolm in the Middle in the winter. He's got the kid from Christmas Story,
Yeah.
the brother, and I've got
And
like
he can't
three. I can't walk. Like I feel so. It's very. It's cumbersome.
There's
in
a
a
lot
way.
to do in that game.
Yeah, I think that's just the part that I had to swallow.
Is
was
it
like,
the idea of like you're trying to do one thing, but then like 3
Yeah,
or 4
man.
other things pop up?
it's like I got my objective and I go to my objective and then I see 5 other things on that way, and I don't know. The reason I'm making myself play it is because one, it deserves the time and I paid $60 for it.
Yeah.
But that's what happened to me with The Witcher, and that is one of my favorite series of all time now.
Mhm.
And I know I'll hit that point too where I just put like 30 minutes or an hour at a time in those sessions. And then there will be that one play session where I'll do something that's super fucking awesome, or I'll find something out.
yeah, and it makes you
like
wanna keep going.
I did my first Cauldron.
Yeah,
And
the cauldrons
those
cool.
are awesome. You know what I was thinking when I was playing it? Like, this is reminding me a lot of Tomb Raider reboot.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Tomb Raider 1 reboot.
a little more
it felt
more
awesome.
open, but yeah.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like, not in general, but like in certain elements, like it felt like I was doing a tomb or something. And I also noticed it in the way, like, how she's very soupy and swampy. Like, when you jump, you can literally go like a.
When I think of
360
Aloy
circle.
from Horizon Zero Dawn, I think of a hot cup of soup.
A hot Manhattan clam
We gotta
chowder.
stop using the phrase "hot" when it comes to that.
Sure, but I like my soup hot.
Would it be
I
like
don't
more
know
like a
about-
tomato soup because she's a redhead?
I guess so.
Okay.
I
So
don't,
is
I don't really like
Aloy,
tomato soup though.
No, neither do I.
Would it
Who
be
does?
wrong of us to say
Papa
Aloy is
does.
a hot tomato soup?
No, I
Souping
think
around
that
the
is
environment.
politically correct,
Okay.
You're
and we
safe.
won't get in trouble for it.
No,
so.
that sounds safe. But yeah, I want to play it, and though, like, there's nothing. There can only be a few ways to tackle a game that's as massive as this, and it's either you drop in 6-hour sessions like once or twice a week.
Always a mistake. Never
Yeah,
do that.
but like it's true though. Like you either do that, you either have these binge episodes, or you put in like a 30 minutes, an hour, a couple times. Like even maybe
knock a few things off the list. And
yeah,
move on.
exactly. And
That's the
you
way to
know-
do it. I went. So those cauldrons you're talking about,
Oh,
I
dear
did
God.
the first cauldron, then did all the other cauldrons in the same playthrough, like the same sitting.
It's awesome because
What are the
really-
cauldrons?
so basically, the cauldrons are like it's like when you find a tomb in Tomb Raider. And
Oh, okay.
you know, I didn't even finish the cauldron, so you can fill in the gaps. But like to me, it's basically it reminds me of in Titanfall 2 when you're in the vertical. The thing is building the houses.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of like a test of like the mind and like how fast you can fucking push these buttons and get behind cover and take things out in a certain order.
And then a lot of it is figuring out how to move through the environment.
Yeah, too.
to
And that's
Okay.
and that's
get
when
where
I,
you need to
I
go.
bring in the Titanfall 2 because you kind of look at what you can grab and where that thing will take you. And I mean, the aesthetic of that game is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's so awesome to look at, and I love.
There aren't a ton of things that look like that game.
Yeah, right. And it's cool. I just want to beat it, and that's the hardest part. Is digging through all of the. It's not shit, but like all of
The side missions.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for as good as that game is, it does fall into the same trap that a lot of big Western open worlds fall into, where the map does maybe get littered with stuff to the point of
Yeah.
annoyance.
And that thing was scary to look at for the first time until you told me that, like, oh, you can turn
Yeah,
each little
thankfully
bit
they
on
give you
and
the
off.
option to customize. But I don't find myself as drawn to the side quests in Horizon Zero Dawn, whereas in The Witcher I felt myself drawn to them and I wanted to do everything
Mhm.
because I felt like there were interesting stories written around them. And Horizon has some good writing and some good storytelling, but it's nothing on the same level as like a Witcher side quest.
I don't think it is, and that's another thing that's making it a little harder. Like did you guys saw that picture I sent in the group chat? It was a grazer,
Yeah,
but the body was frozen,
Oh,
floating
yes,
in
yeah.
midair, and I captioned it jank level roach. I thought that was like one of the
That
funniest
took
things
me
I
a
ever
second
said.
to get too
Yeah.
because I didn't play that much of The Witcher.
I
so
thought that was
because
was
like The
laughing at my
Witcher
own
will
fucking
throw like
joke.
so you're doing a side quest and it could be a typical fetch quest, and then almost 97% of the time they will throw a wrench into that, and there'll be some sort of twist that makes
Yeah.
you be like, oh fuck. Horizon doesn't do that, where they will give you a fetch quest and it could be a well written fetch quest, but it's still just
It's
a fetch
just-
quest.
yeah,
It
and
doesn't
you-
change that up.
So I mean, I don't know. I hate it. I hate that I'm in this position because I want to just drop unlimited hours into it, and I really want to know what
We're
happens.
adults, you can't do that.
Yeah, but other than that,
We don't get paid to play video games. You can't do
no,
it.
not yet. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
We don't. It's only
The
been
goal.
100 weeks. Tom.
Hashtag
I pay myself.
YouTube Red. Hashtag subscribe.
Okay.
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Smash that like button.
Yeah. 5 stars is the suggested rating.
Man, speaking of 5 stars, you really need to watch that first episode of Black Mirror. I
Of
watched
season 3 or of
yeah,
episode
so,
1 or
so,
season 1?
I started watching Black Mirror because a friend suggested like I would love this shit,
Mhm.
and so they suggested season 3, episode 2.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the first season they like when you load it up fresh, it starts you at says season 3, episode 1. So I don't know what the deal is with
Probably
that.
because it's an anthology. It doesn't
Yeah, it
really
doesn't-
have a
it doesn't
through
matter.
line.
But like that show is fucking cool as hell. The first episode, I was losing my shit. There was parts where like I can't watch this. It hurts.
What's the first one about?
The first
not-
one is about when imagine Instagram is your line of credit. Like how much social feedback you get from Instagram was like you can go move into these apartments now because you've got this many followers on Instagram.
Oh, that's fucked
It's
up.
all about Big Brother, man.
It's like some fucked up shit. Yeah, but
Social
so
media,
they don't
man.
lean on like a big overarching power controlling this, but it's like fucking scary because this dude can't get into his apartment building because he's a 3.2 when you need to be a 3.8 to like live here.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And like
Corporations are in power, taking
it
control
really
of our
doesn't have anything to
lives.
do with that. But
Hashtag Mirror's Edge Catalyst
exactly.
coming this fall.
Yes. But it gets to the point where like one of her friends is having a wedding and she can't get on the flight because like everything is just starting to go wrong, right? So she gets into a fight with her brother. Her brother knocks her down, right?
Okay.
'Cause rates are low. And then she accidentally knocks somebody's coffee off. And then she's rude to the taxi driver. And all of these people, everybody in this world is constantly just rating each other with this phone. They literally look at each other with the phone and they like
And that's
shove the phone and then they're swiping. And it's like, oh, I gave you 5 stars. And
weird.
and so she can't get on her airplane because her rating is low enough. It's too low. And then the cops escort her, and then like, all right, well, we're gonna have to half your score. And then it just drops down to like 2. It's at a 5. And then she's basically at that. It's like it's like you hit the poverty line.
Oh, geez.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And episode 2, I told you to watch. I knew you would love that.
Yeah, I loved it.
That was
If you
cool.
like video games, I definitely check it out. It's
And it wasn't cheesy in any way. And I think that I don't know if the director is different of each thing. I couldn't tell, but that show is running in 4K.
okay.
And I watched it on the 4K upstairs, and man, it looks good.
It looks good. I can imagine.
And so the last thing, which I know Tom also played, and then was like, you know what, man, I should fucking turn this shit on because fuck me, I hate myself.
I'm gonna take my
I
headphones
played-
off. I'll let you guys
Wait,
talk about this for a
What did I
while.
also play?
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Ski.
No Man's.
No Man's
so
Glacier Sky.
We'll just fucking talk about that.
Yeah, let's
shit now.
talk about
We
that
might as
game.
well. So have you come back at all since the last time you played it?
No.
Okay,
the
so-
Pathfinder update was my new in. It was me seeing some of that stuff.
So
and saying
how
that
did I
looks
want to
cool.
know like how did that feel from what you remember?
There are a lot of improvements.
Yeah.
A ton of improvements, particularly the PS4 Pro improvements.
I can't believe they have
The
HDR in that thing.
HDR and the 1800p image quality. That game looks
looks good.
fucking fantastic. That is some of the best implementation of HDR I've seen on my PS4 Pro
That's
so far.
fascinating to hear.
And it would make sense of that game because the colors are so vivid
Yeah.
and the darks are so dark. Like it adds a ton to just getting you immersed. And we play No Man's Sky very differently.
Yeah.
What I always do, I go into creative mode. Don't have to worry about resource management or
Okay.
anything, and I fly around different planets.
Just
I
look at
make
stuff
my own.
and-
I kind of role play a little bit. Like I
Okay.
make my own story. It's dumb. Like
Not at all.
I'll make up these little stories in my head, and honestly, I'm just having a great time doing that. I'm still trying to figure out how to access the base building stuff.
It's the D-pad and the touchpad. I think those
Oh,
will bring
is
up
it?
a little menu on the bottom, and then you cycle.
I know the
through them all
menu's
with the
there.
D-pad.
Like I know the menu's there, and I can summon my freighter when I want to. But I'm still trying to figure out how I can start to build a base because
Yeah.
I didn't get to toy around with any of the vehicle stuff yet, which honestly looked really neat. But I mean, my issue with that game is going to be my issue with it till the end. Even though I'm having a good time, it's that the majority of planets look the same, and
Yeah.
the procedural you can't do this game without procedural generation. It wouldn't work. But at the same time, like spending 10, 15 minutes walking around one planet, you're kind of like, well, in this 10, 15 minutes, I've seen everything this planet has to offer
Yeah.
because of procedural generation. And I know it's going to be the same thing 100 hours from now on this planet.
yeah.
So that's the benefit of playing on creative mode because once I get bored, I can say, okay, leave, fly to a new system, go to a different planet. Say, this
And-
looks cool, spend 10, 15 minutes there and go do whatever.
Yeah, man, it's fucking. That game was I just want to use the right words to describe it because it had AAA backing, it had AAA funding.
Well, we don't know that.
I mean, how could it not?
I think there are areas we can tell that did not.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that wasn't really the point, but it was the spotlight it was put in was
Sony put a spotlight on it.
yeah, and so what I think happened, what we all know happened was that it was, this was like a $15 budget game that was blown up like a AAA game.
Yeah.
And, it feels like an indie game, like it's not supposed to be that big, but like it is. So they're just like, oh, it's
I will
this
say
big.
it no longer feels like an early access game. It feels like its own.
It's getting out
title.
of it's getting out of it, but still, this
But that
is
speaks
what
more to the fact that it should have been released as an early access game.
This thing should have been in development for like another 2 or 3 years. Like, of course, it's impossible for it to be in development that long, but they need to.
They totally could have had it not been announced when it was announced.
If just, man, I don't know. I could just say it could have just been this and that, and we did that forever, and we do that for everything.
We had a whole podcast about it.
Yeah, fuck, man.
But we're stuck with the product that we have now, and I will say the product that we have now feels like a better product than it was at launch, and it's something that, despite the flaws, despite the issues, I find enough good in it to thoroughly enjoy my time with it.
And
kind of like The Last Guardian, where I had a ton of problems with that game, but
I tried.
The high highs kind of got me through it. And it's the same thing with No Man's Sky.
And the way I play No Man's Sky is I'm total survival. Like I wish there was more.
Did you try the hardcore survival?
I've tried hardcore a handful of times. It is fucking impossible to, like, if you've seen the shit I did just to get, so in normal difficulty, you spawn a foot away from your ship and they drop a bunch of supplies there. You're ready to go. On hardcore, they drop you 13 minutes from your ship, and any planet you spawn on
will be toxic.
Or heat or ice. It doesn't matter. And basically, the first goal is to get to your ship before you freeze to death, get poisoned to death, or you burn to death. But the words like supply starved is an understatement because I wouldn't recommend it.
Really?
I would not recommend
it. Sounds like you're glowing about it
coming
right
from
now.
you who like loves these hardcore survival sims. Is surprising.
I have taken on the challenge. I have gotten off of a planet on hardcore. That was hours. That took hours of me trying to figure out a way to survive in the open long enough to get to my ship, to rebuild the ship, and to fucking leave. And once you leave, you're landing on another planet that's just as fucking hostile in every sense of the word. The Sentinels are hostile. You just walk around and you're getting shot. It's not fun. It's not very fun. But they also added a permadeath, which is that plus permadeath. So
that sounds terrible.
That's not fun. So I just play on regular.
Yeah,
and
sounds
so
normal.
just the standard what No Man's Sky came out
exactly. But I love that kind of play.
It's just the right balance of survival with kind of like the ability to explore.
If there had been like thirst and food, it would have. I actually still would have liked that, but I think that would have turned way too many people off.
Yeah.
I find that if you focus on the collecting element and like the onto the next, I certainly want to do base building in normal mode. And I think I might actually have to like scavenge those resources to build those.
The cool thing about
pieces.
building your base, I realize, is so when you build your base and then you go to the space station, you can hire aliens to come and work at your space station.
What?
So you'll have a farmer who will constantly be growing resources for you, and you'll have like a technician who'll be building different blueprints for you. It's really cool.
I did not know that, and that's fucking awesome.
That's why I really want to get into the base building. Not that I need it on creative, but just to see what that shit's like.
And the thing, but basically before I move on, I play it normal. I collect, I build, and I move on to the next thing. But what I feel like is ultimately missing from this game is some sort of aliveness. Like, it's very much you're lost in space and you're a space ranger, Western, whatever, but some sort of sense of connectivity to any AI in that thing.
Well, I think that's what you would hope. So, like, when you go, and we're going to keep bringing this up because they did it themselves. You go back and watch those first trailers, you saw planets full of life, full of green, full of trees, a lot of interesting nooks and crannies.
I mean, in terms of, like, those people you can hire to farm and stuff.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, but then there was
like,
also
on your planet.
the promise of potentially seeing another player.
Yeah.
When the reality of
much.
that is much different.
Yeah.
I think they are kind of stuck with a basic work a reference, a basic frame to
Yeah.
work within. That's why I don't think you're going to have really advanced AI. I don't
I
think you're
know.
ever going to see an alien doing much more than sitting down in a chair. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It just kind of sucks that they didn't have that time.
Or
to
occasionally you'll
work
see
out.
ships flying around, and
I feel like it's possible. I feel like they could have figured it out, and I feel like that might be one of those big updates that will
maybe.
drop.
I mean, clearly they're still working on it. We haven't heard from Sean Murray, but I think that's probably for the best.
Yes.
I think they realize with this game that they're better off showing with actions
Yes.
rather than telling, which they were telling for such a long time.
Yeah, that's good. And I still, you know what? Fuck, is it still retail $60?
No.
No.
God, no. I've seen that
God.
game for like 20 or 30
All right,
everywhere.
you know what? I would recommend that game to somebody. I still would.
I'd say maybe at like 10, 15.
If I knew that person's taste even slightly aligned to mine, I would still, maybe like $15 would probably be the
Yeah.
But still, I think it's a cool game. I was behind it all the time. I tried to be. I tried to show that game love.
Just wasn't having it.
But yeah,
And shit all over your dick.
shit all over my dick.
Hate it when that happens.
So Tom, besides No Man's Sky, what else have you been doing?
So I've still been playing Nier Automata. Fucking love that game. I spoke so much about it last week. But really that game is just doing so many cool and unique things. I beat ending B and I'm on Route C right now. It's funny, Route C
Sounds like gibberish
So
to
when
me.
you play through Route B, it's essentially the same game but played from 9S's perspective, played from the other Android's perspective. So you get a few different points here and there. It's from the times where 9S does disappear, and that stuff is really cool. When you start play through C, everything, including the difficulty, ramps up a ton. So I've been playing a normal. It has not been hard. Once you start C, it gets fucking difficult. You're routinely fighting enemies who are 15 to 20 levels higher than you are. It's not easy. And there's one segment in particular where you play through C primarily as a third protagonist, but you're playing as the first protagonist for a little bit. And there is a segment with her that is so brutal and hard that I had to look up a guide of how to do this. And it's basically like, without spoiling everything, your character has a timer and she's dying, and you need to get to a location before she dies.
Okay.
But you're constantly being slowed down by your movement speed and everything to get this location. And there's like a very specific route you have to take. They don't tell you how to take that route. So the first time I did it, the first 2 times I died because I tried going a totally different route. And then basically if you run into an enemy, you can't fight them. So you're just going to get knocked the fuck around until you die. It was brutal. But really the kind of plot revelations you reach in playthrough C, like the boss fights, the story bits, like it's all been really cool. And I think the coolest thing about that game is the way it merges genres. So in 1 minute, you'll be playing a third person character action game swinging around your sword. Then the next you'll go into a top down shooter, like a top down bullet hell shooter. And then the next minute you'll suddenly be in a 2D platformer. And it does all this thing. It switches to all these different things on the fly. And then I even hit one thing like thinking, wow, it's really cool to showing me all these different gameplay perspectives and possibilities. I hit a moment that turned into a text adventure. It was fucking awesome.
This game is weird.
It's so weird, but it's so cool. And like I said, I feel like not a lot of other games are doing the things that this game is doing. And I think that's why I love it so much, because it is unique. It doesn't feel like it's trying to follow a guideline or, oh, you make a game like this because this is safe and we know these games sell. It feels like it's really just doing its own thing. And I absolutely admire the hell out of it for that. The other thing I did this week besides that and No Man's Sky was I started watching Netflix's Iron Fist.
Yes.
I know reviews have been hit or miss with it. I have to say I don't dislike it, but at the same time, it doesn't hit the same highs that Daredevil season 1 or 2 hit or Jessica Jones hit. So when it does start to drag, you really notice it dragging. And right now, I'm at a point where some stuff has happened.
What episode are you on?
Like 9 or 10.
Okay.
Some stuff has happened. Some cool stuff, but now it's at a point where it just feels like it's at a lull. Kind of like in Jessica Jones, where they have the Purple Man in custody. You know what I'm talking about?
See, but
And
even
at
then,
that point, it feels like
still,
it felt like it was just dragging.
I
Like
still remember liking that
it's
more.
similar to that, but it just feels like it's going so much slower because it doesn't hit the same highs that those series does. Now, that being said, I like some of the things that the show has been doing. I think Danny Rand is hit or miss. He's everywhere. I don't particularly like him or dislike him. The supporting characters are a little more interesting than I feel a typical Marvel Netflix series.
I disagree. I don't.
The villains, I don't really know who the villain is yet because they seem to be throwing around different villains everywhere.
Isn't that a big fucking problem though?
It is a big problem, but at the same time, no, trust me, I agree.
No,
it is a problem.
I have so many thoughts in my head about this fucking show, but
a Purple Man and it doesn't have a Wilson Fisk.
Yeah,
and even
Luke Cage had two different villains at least.
Before it killed off the first superior villain, had a great fucking villain in the beginning.
You're so fucking, you're angry.
Because the show, I really have stopped liking the show. I'm like halfway through episode 8.
I'm at a point where I don't hate it, but I am forcing myself to go through it.
I'm not even doing that. I'm not wasting my time.
I think it has done some really cool creative things, particularly just like the RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan directed an episode, and his style is all over it. It's a tournament episode, which was so cheesy and everything, but at the same time, I kind of loved it for just how cheesy and unabashedly fun and like kung fu movie it was.
That was when he had the 3 trials, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was good. The episode before that though, episode 5, I thought was horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
Like episode 5 was so there's just so much about the show I don't like.
And I think it's, and I know some of you guys might scoff at this, but I think it's worth being said that Iron Fist as a character does not necessarily jive well in 2017. Just the idea of the white savior complex. And it wouldn't be as egregious if, and this is something I didn't think would bother me, but it wouldn't be as egregious if the Asian characters were better written or didn't feel as stereotyped. But to the extent they kind of feel horribly stereotyped. Like the guy writing for these characters just looked at, what do stereotypical Asian karate kung fu people do? And here's what they do. Here's how we're going to write these characters. But don't worry, because the white guy, Danny Rand, is going to come in and use all these martial arts abilities better than these Asian people.
No, I can actually...
And I think that speaks more to Iron Fist as a character, not the show's fault. But at the same time, I feel some of those characters could have been better written.
I actually, and I'm not one to normally take this side with these types of arguments, because I mostly just don't agree. But for this one in particular case, like I was reading an article this weekend, and I was just like, I read it, and it was from that perspective. I'm like, you know what?
This hero feels particularly extra white.
And you're reading it, and you're like, you know what? He fucking is. It makes him, to me, I find Danny somewhat, I feel like I'm put off by him. Like when he talks, it feels like he
but are you put off by him because he's white or because he's not a good actor?
It's the idea that like he's spouting this stuff, and then the idea that like he knows it better than these people who have lived with it for years and years. You know what I mean?
He just doesn't sound like a good actor.
No, he's not fine. A particularly great actor.
To me, he's fine in the role, but I also think there's a lot wrong with the character also. Like, I mean, there was a huge thing before this even thing was to change the character, because it was written in the 1970s when every lead in a comic was a white guy. And trust me, I feel weird saying this because this is a side of an argument I never take. But even when they were like the casting thing was like fucking make Iron Fist Asian, I was like, oh, whatever. But now I'm just like, that might not have helped, but it might have made it seem.
It might have helped some of the unease you kind of feel. It's not like extreme unease, but there are parts where you just feel like, and it's not really so much. It's some of it's to do with Danny Rand, but some of it's to do with how the Asian characters are represented. Where you're just like, huh.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just
let's
weird.
not go too far down this rabbit hole because, like I said, politics on our show are never a good idea.
And but like my final thing on the show is I'm halfway through episode 8. I have no plan on going back to it.
At this point, I have like 3-4 more episodes left. I'm going to finish it. But honestly, it's the same problem I've had with Daredevil season 2, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. These series are 4 episodes longer than they need to be. And that's always the problem. I feel like by episode 9, 10, they're ramping up, hitting a climax that I feel you can end at. And then they just drag for another 3-4 episodes where they focus on the side characters and their subplots. And you're just like, okay, fine. And that was my biggest problem with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. And Daredevil season 2 to a lesser extent, but it was still there.
Yeah, Daredevil was almost split into 2 seasons almost because of the Punisher and the hand stuff.
And I know a lot of people are like iffy about the hand stuff. I've read a lot of criticism about. I like the hand stuff. I actually think they're a cool, like, villainous organization. And I know they're going to be the lead villains and Defenders too. Yeah. We'll see how Sigourney Weaver plays into that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird.
I'm hella excited for Defenders though.
Yeah, no, trust me. I'm gonna.
And like I said,
day one, I'll start watching it.
like this enough that I'm going to keep watching it. And I like it enough to not say that I don't dislike it, but it has a ton of problems.
Yeah. To me, it's their lowest ranking. I think it's their.
I agree.
It's their worst attempt at this Netflix show. So, Netflix series. But yeah,
hopefully Punisher is good. Looking for the Punisher.
I keep forgetting that's happening. Let's take a little break. We'll come back with game news and whatnot. So we'll be right back. Hey guys, it's your host Joe. Thanks for checking out the show this week. If you haven't already, head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. We love to hear from you. Send an email to podcastemastered@gmail.com with any comments or questions. We may even discuss your email live on the show. To stay up to date, follow us on Twitter @DMastercast. For our live streams, you can go to twitch.tv/podcastemastered. And lastly, our video content can be found at youtube.com/podcastemastered show. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, and we are back to hit you up with some news.
Just to hit you with the news.
Yeah, we want you to come to the place we record, and we're just gonna senselessly beat one of you guys on on podcast.
One lucky person will get beat to death with our news.
Just got to be a $5 more or higher Patreon supporter.
I like the idea of having the support to get beat to death.
Hey, man, you
gotta find your niche.
People are into what they're into, and if we can get into that, I think there's a door, and we just gotta kick it open. First up, Horizon sold pretty well back to fucking normal town over here. Guerrilla and Sony announced that it sold 2.6 million in its first 2 weeks of sales.
Good for them. Well deserved.
It is. Wait till you hear this wording though. Best-selling new first-party IP on the PS4.
I mean, they're not.
I feel like every time they announce one of these things now, they just add another word to make it the best.
What else do they have to compare that to? Bloodborne? Isn't that really the only other point of comparison they have?
Yeah, I guess Bloodborne or
Knack.
No, not Knack. Well, I mean, Knack was probably
best seller of all time.
Probably did hold that record for a little while. But yeah, no. So in that announcement, they also confirmed they're working on a story-based expansion.
Oh boy, because we need a lot of more of that.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I could see it being cool if they give you a new area. Like if they let you go into Utah a little bit or something, or some of the surrounding states, that'd be pretty cool. Maybe now this is just throwing. Maybe they take the Naughty Dog route of just doing these big, like, kind of cool, like standalone expansions. Maybe they do a different country. Like, what if you had like a small chunk of like London or something to play around in?
That sounds good.
Or like Aloy traveling across like
I don't think like a different
Atlantic
character.
Ocean.
I think it'd be pretty cool.
I think they're still not. I don't think they're at the level of Naughty Dog where they can take the time like a year or a year and a half to make DLC for a
the
game.
reason I make that comparison is because like I've been reading a lot about. Not that I'm actually really excited for, because I think I'm totally burnt out on Uncharted. But the Lost, whatever it is.
There's no way in hell I'm playing that.
No, it's actually pretty substantial. Like that sounds like a full game at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Though. I don't think Guerrilla would take the time that Naughty Dog gets to take to make that type of expansion. I think it will be something like Alloy
maybe something like
it's Aloy.
Maybe something like Infamous First Light, where you reuse the same environments, but you get to play as a different character.
Or something like that. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Different powers, different weapons. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Next up, something you two, I know, are very, very excited for.
Actually, pretty excited for this.
Is it Bono?
South by Southwest was last week, and Sonic had a little presentation.
God.
What?
I was gonna say, like, they don't stream South by Southwest, do they?
I don't.
Because I heard all this stuff, but like, I didn't see any live streams for it anyway.
They just had a panel there. And that's where this came from. So in there, came out that Sonic Mania was delayed from spring till summer.
I'm fine with them taking all the time they need in that game.
Where they use the term, sometimes we like to go fast, but sometimes you have to slow down to make a better game.
Yeah,
I like that they're just leaning hard into it.
They fucking know their audience, man.
Good.
They know it, and they're not ashamed. They have no shame.
Do you want to see my recolor?
They literally have no shame.
Do you remember the Sonic stream from last year?
Yes.
Well, the difference between like hardcore Sonic fans now and the people at Sonic Team is that the people at Sonic Team's fan creations just get to be turned official.
Yeah, pretty much, probably.
Really the only difference.
It's kind of like there's the janitors that work at Sega, and then like like a half step up is the Sonic team.
And
they're so close to their fans.
Their fan fictions get to become reality, but clearly goes through an editing process where all the sexual bits are wiped out, except for Sonic 06, where he kissed a human female, full tongue.
I'd say about 95% of the stuff gets removed at that point.
So also in this presentation, Project Sonic 2017 is now officially Sonic Forces. It's using a new engine, 3 styles of gameplay.
I think
and
it's Hedgehog Engine 2, and Generations and Unleashed used the first iteration of the Hedgehog Engine.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll have multiple paths in levels.
Honestly, I was really... Now, we've seen this style of Sonic for a long time, the kind of boost Sonic. I like that. I think they found something that works for 3D Sonic, and I'm fine with more games like that. I was really excited. I was impressed by the gameplay they showed. It looks beautiful. Like the first Hedgehog engine they used was a great looking engine. Those Generations Unleashed were fantastic looking games. But this seems like it's taking even a step further with just some of the detail in the environments. But I like that they just give you these environments to just kind of speed through, like almost like these racetracks. I'm almost curious as to what the 2 other gameplay styles are going to be. So we know Classic Sonic is back, similar to Generations. I wonder what that third style is going to be. Maybe they'll do something like maybe they'll take some inspiration from the early adventure games. Like what if they had
so. My favorite part
a treasure hunting level, or maybe gave you an option to, because they create these big, beautiful environments that you're speeding through. What if they maybe made a gameplay style that just kind of allowed you to maybe more slowly go through these environments and explore a little bit?
Well, my thing is like with Adventure 2 specifically.
Yeah.
There can be a level of finesse to your motion through those maps in like a Mirror's Edge 1 level capacity. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You can fucking cut every corner, and there is the perfect way to do it.
You watch the speedruns for it?
No, I mean, well, yeah, I've seen
that.
A bunch.
Yeah,
exactly.
Crazy.
But I feel like what they have done is basically they throw this boost at you, and you end up just jamming X the whole time, or holding down X, and you just go straight.
I like it though. It's fun because like the fun parts of Sonic for me were always the parts where you got to just go.
Yeah.
And this seems like it's kind of an evolution of that, but then they also break it up with light platforming with enemies, but it always feels like it's keeping the momentum going forward, whereas in some of the other 3D Sonic games, those platforming segments and those enemy segments, it felt like it was almost halting your momentum to a dead stop.
I definitely agree with that. I think I liked it that way. I liked it better that way. It just, you really can't. I see. To me, I think what they did in Generations, where you would gotta go fast, X to boost, and then you hit the 2D thing, and you are dead. You're going slower than ever, slower than you did in any classic adventure.
I feel like they're probably going to still incorporate the 2D sections in the modern Sonic parts as well.
I feel like that's got no space. Like, I don't know. I think they're just
that's what classic Sonic is there for, right? The 2D?
Well, I'm saying I don't like that. Like, I think this, like, Sonic 2017 should have been like a reimagining of how they want you to feel what fast is like in a 3D environment. And I guess I'm just saying I don't like the way they handle it. I don't think they necessarily
need to reimagine because I think they found a formula that works in 3D. However, it still would have been cool. So did you see any of those demos floating around for the potential 3D Sonic? Basically, this guy made a few different demos of Sonic running in a huge open 3D environment, but your ability to go fast in that, and then certain tracks set up in that environment.
No, I didn't see that.
Almost like a Mario 64 level of openness combined with Sonic. It was interesting, but I feel like Sonic Team in particular has found something that works. At least I feel it works. And those games are fun. You know, I enjoyed the daytime levels in Unleashed, and I enjoyed Generations a ton.
Generations was a great game.
I'm very excited for Mania as well.
That's what I was going to say. I like Generations a lot. The only problem was I kind of lost interest when the 2D levels came. I much more appreciated the 3D levels going around.
I'm the opposite. I like the 2D parts a lot. It felt like a nice throwback.
I just think if you want two different things, right? And I don't think it's ever good to force.
That's the divide with Sonic fans. Mainly people like Sonic is you have the camp who love the 3D stuff, and then you have the camp who really they hold steady to the fact that 2D was the way to go.
I'm just saying commit to that game. Like, put that game out on mobile and put that game out on Switch.
That's what they're doing with Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania is that 2D, is the classic 2D. Yeah. And what I think, I kind of agree with you, Sonic Forces should have stuck with the 3D. You have two games in 1 year that cater to both audiences.
That's not good. They're both those audiences are getting half of what they want.
Well, I mean,
No, if they're getting 2 full games, though.
Oh, well, you understand what I'm saying, though.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying for Sonic Forces, though, I feel like it should have just been a 3D type thing rather than. Now, granted, we don't know how often it goes to 2D. Maybe it's not that much, and it won't really matter, and this whole conversation will be void. But
exactly.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
I'm very excited for both these. I feel like for the first time in a very long time, I'm excited for Sonic games.
See, I'm not ready.
It's fun to feel that way because like I used to be obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog when I was a kid. So it's fun to feel get a little excited about Sonic the Hedgehog again.
And I just don't
say
want.
what you will about their live streams.
I'll wait for that thing we'll be doing the show and I'll be like, what? Sonic's coming out tomorrow? I'm so happy I didn't have to wait.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh boy.
This game could easily fall into there's not that much coming out on Switch this fall.
Yeah.
And it's coming out way before Mario comes out, so why not jump on it? But probably not.
Mario's going to be the better game. Let's be real.
Well, yeah, I'm saying if they say this was like a September release and Mario's November, well, there's some space there.
I'm not kidding. I watch that trailer every day.
That's really weird, Tom.
I'm
so fucking excited for Mario. I can't even begin to explain.
I've only rewatched it once because on the newsfeed they were like, "Oh, watch the Mario trailer," and I was like, "All right."
I think I watched it live.
Yeah, then I watched it twice. I watched it live and then I watched it once again.
I watched GameXplain put up like a 35-minute video, like an analysis of that trailer, and I watched the whole thing.
Like I subscribe to GameXplain, but sometimes they go too deep into like small things, and I'm like,
I like them. I want to give them credit for like being like really some of the only like good reasonable voices like covering Nintendo products I find on the internet. I feel like you don't find a lot of that.
I just don't think a lot of people are willing to put up with all the like restrictions that Nintendo imposes upon them.
They seem to have a good relationship with each other, so they seem to be able to get things out earlier.
They are probably because they got Switches early and everything.
Yeah. But I like the stuff they're doing a lot.
I like them too. I found them leading up to the Switch with the pre-Switch coverage.
Yeah, and
I stayed subscribed to them. But every once in a while, like I'll see them post a video. I'm like, why is this video about this 15 minutes long? I'm like,
here's a 30-minute long video of a cool trick you can do in Super Bomberman R.
Yeah.
God, we're desperate for new games to play.
Last thing they hit on was that even though Mania was delayed, that doesn't push back Forces at all. So that's still still aiming for fall.
Project Holiday 2017.
Yeah. Up next, Nintendo announced that they are planning on doubling the amount of Switch units they're going to make in the fiscal year of 2018. Originally, they were ready to produce 8 million consoles by March of 2018. And because of strong sales and what they are seeing in demand for the system is they are going to produce 16 million units.
So this thing has almost sold 2 million at this point?
Yeah.
1.6 or something like that?
There's no official numbers. The 1.5 was from a third party.
Is it? Now, I don't know how the Wii U did initially, but is it safe to say that so far this has outdone, in that first, like the same time period, has outdone the Wii U?
I would have to
imagine.
Look. Yeah. My instincts want to say yes if they're ready to produce this many consoles.
I hope this
momentum the numbers
continues.
They get,
like this is great for them. It's good to see Nintendo doing well again and putting out a good piece of hardware.
And like I actually went to because I'm going away for the weekend in a few weeks. Yeah. I'm flying on a plane, so I want to get a carrying case for the Switch. So it's when it's in my bag, it's not just out. And so I actually went to GameStop today to go get one and
sold out.
Well, yeah, he goes like, yeah, we're not getting any accessories anytime soon. He's like, but Nintendo. He literally said he goes like, Nintendo can be weird about it. We weren't supposed to get any new systems until June. His store. That's what he said. And then he goes like, but now I just found out we're getting a shipment in early April. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't know.
That is
Nintendo seems to be all over the place. Where I guess maybe originally they were only supposed to get that many, but
I'm not like willing to do the fight and the hunt with people at this point to get one.
Yeah.
Like, by the time I'm ready to get one, so like probably around this holiday, I'm gonna hope that they will be more readily available.
I think they will be, especially
I
ramping up
just
towards
put in
holiday.
an order online and wait like a week or two.
Exactly. I just like I don't know if I like the hunt anymore. Or
I still love
the fight with other people to get the stupid box.
Yeah. So to compare it to Wii U, I don't know the numbers. I feel like sometime in April when the fiscal year's over, Nintendo's like the only like big hardware manufacturer to actually send out the actual numbers. So we'll probably know, and people then will compare it to what the Wii U did in that same time frame and everything.
I wonder if this will use the wording the Nintendo family.
Probably not. Also, my other theory is that they're ramping up production, and if they're watch your foot, is that they will also lower the production of the 3DS because I think that's their ultimate
goal.
I don't know. That thing still seems to be doing all right.
No, but I'm saying that's their ultimate roadblock in front of the Switch because, as I've said multiple times on this podcast, I think
can almost guarantee you that the next mainline Pokemon game will be a 3DS title.
Yeah. Well, to go on that in a second, but what I was saying was, oh fuck, I completely forgot what I was saying, man.
The 3DS needs to get out of the way.
The 3DS is the roadblock
Yeah.
for the Switch, because as I've been saying on the show, this is a fucking awesome handheld that you get the luxury of plugging into your TV when you want to. And I feel like having another handheld out there is what is blocking them from having the success in the handheld market that they think they can have with the Switch. And also, we can jump to that story then real quick. GameFreak actually just put out a job listing for a 3G CG designer.
A 3D
CG designer.
It's like 3G.
Yeah, I know.
3D CG.
And they listed it as work on characters, monsters, and items for a title that everybody knows. And it's Game Freak. It's Pokemon.
It's
And they said it is a console project, so it is their Nintendo Switch. It's and then
It's actually Tembo the Badass Elephant 2.
two, yeah. I don't think everyone knows that one. I don't know if
I don't.
Everyone knows Tembo.
And then the other thing is it started coming back up with this job title coming out, but it's either possibly starting there with Gen 8, like their Generation 8, their Pokemon titles, or that Pokemon Stars game that has been rumored for a while
I
now.
think that would almost be the smarter way to go about it, would be to port Stars to the Switch, just to kind of show other developers how easy that process hopefully is. And it's also a great way to get that game into more people's hands, because it's still fairly recent. They're still putting out content for it. I think that I'm sure they'll still be working on their 3DS game, but I'd almost rather have them release that first.
Well, I feel like if that port
Or
of
their
the
Switch game.
of the middle one launches, I feel like then it will be, is there like an average development cycle that Pokemon games go on? Is it like 1 or 2
Like 2
years?
years.
Usually what it is, it's the new generation. Then the year after their middle game comes out, like the one that kind of combines the two. And then the next year is either off or they remake an old one. And then the following year is the new one.
I feel like if Stars comes out, I feel like that's going to reset the cycle, and I think it's going to be 2 years. And I would be willing to make the bet with you that it does not launch on the 3DS.
Like with Generation 8 or Stars?
After
one?
Stars.
Oh, after Stars,
So
yeah.
in my timeline, Stars comes
what
out.
are we betting here?
I don't
Well,
know. Just that it happens.
If
Chipotle?
what Charlie's talking about is like a
betting
year and a
Chipotle?
half to 2 years after Stars, after
This
this
is
fall,
going to be a while, yeah.
It's going to be a while. By then the 3DS.
So by then Chipotle will have shut down due to the salmonella.
No, but
Too
by
many people will have died.
But by then the 3DS won't be their main.
Exactly. My point
I
is
won't even
that
be produced at that point. I mean,
that's kind of what I'm betting on.
yeah.
But it's going to be, who knows if we're even doing the show to finish this bet.
If Nintendo is still making like I know Game Freak's not owned by Nintendo, but Nintendo is still promoting a Pokemon game.
You better hope
this
it's
would
on
be
fucking
almost
Switch.
3.5 years into the Switch's life cycle.
Yeah.
Oh, Shigeru Miyamoto, can you please?
Oh, Tom's on the line.
Yeah, I was like, wondering what he was doing. I mean, that would be horrible. That would be a terrible sign for the Switch's life at that point.
I say Stars might launch as a 3DS Switch, but definitely the next one is going to be a full blown.
Yeah, I think
Switch.
Stars is definitely that cross one, 100%. If that's even real. Granted, now,
and that will be the one to sell me on a Switch. Most likely, that will push me over the edge. That's what I'm waiting for.
I think if Pokemon, even if Pokemon like rumored Pokemon Stars does come to both, I think that would be huge for Switch to have.
You have to imagine
absolutely.
that's gonna take some time too, because you have to upres all those assets, and it's not so simple. Those assets are made to be seen at 240p,
this
whatever
is a
the
one-time
3DS
thing.
is running in.
If we also go back to when we first started talking about it, the rumor was that this has been in production since early 2016.
You have to up that to 720p, and that's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, but I mean, if you've been working on it for almost 2 years at that point, it's not the most ridiculous thing to think it will be out on better hardware in a year.
This is going to end up being handcraft coded for the Switch. It's not like maybe assets could be shared between, but the code is going to be unique.
And this is something that even after it wasn't revealed at the event, like people like Laura K. Dale and Emily Rogers. Why did I forget her? But I remember Laura. With the like Pokemon, GameCube, and there's one other one. But those were like the three rumors that even though they didn't happen at the event, they were like, this is fucking happening.
I don't know
still.
if I still trust those sources. And at least if we get something else that they said and that comes to light, absolutely, I'm back in the boat. But I think as of right now, like Did they get any of the bits right for the Switch? I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't like
The reason I
take a tally
so
of everything, but I know I said the majority of it seemed to be off the money.
so after the event I unfollowed people. I kept following Emily Rogers though because she was
and she
more
followed you
spot
back.
on. Well, yeah, she just recently, I'm getting all the scoops now. But she was more in line with what was being announced, even though she still also was one of the people with the GameCube virtual console and the Pokemon Stars and everything else. But
Man, those things would be killer.
yeah, like granted, if those things are real, maybe they just want to sparse it out. Obviously, they're not ready to talk about virtual console whatsoever.
No, and you know what? I feel like
I could only hope that means because they're ready to kind of kick
Yeah.
down the doors with the virtual
Yeah.
console. Be like, hey, we're launching with 5 Super Nintendo games, 5 NES games, 5 N64 games, and 5 GameCube games. Have fun.
that would be
That would be
Like
a good
that'd be
start.
very good.
Yeah.
Even though I think it should be all Super Nintendo games, all Nintendo 64 games, all
Well, you can't just.
Nintendo games.
I mean, the only problem is you
Yeah,
can't.
They have to
it's
get those
there.
things out. Like,
Yeah, you
here's
can't.
our
they sparse them
ROMs. They'll just say go to emuparadise.com.
You can't
well,
just.
you
get
know,
them all
well, you know
there.
what's funny? I think a lot of the I
favorite
think a lot of
torrent.
the other like emulated versions of those games run better than the ones that Nintendo puts out on the
Oh.
virtual console.
I think it should. Yeah, it
I've played better emulated versions of Castlevania than the one I played on Wii U.
fucking Nintendo.
And the last Nintendo thing is Nintendo UK doubled down that both Fire Emblem Warriors and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will hit this year. And
I don't believe Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for a second.
that's the one that's the one everyone thought may release in Japan this year and release in other countries next
like
year.
2 years from now.
Yeah.
Because you have to think, Xenoblade Chronicles X was announced almost when the Wii U was announced and didn't come out until its last year on the market.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I don't believe for a second that 2 is coming out this year.
Yeah, but that's what they're saying. What I find interesting about it is that it's not the Japanese side saying it's coming out this year. So at least like right now in their plans, like it would seem they're kind of aiming for a simultaneous release, not a sparse release all over the world. Especially now with the eShop being
Well, I think you kind of have to.
Region free.
With big Japanese games like that, I think unless you're Atlas, you're the exception to the rule. But I think
Yeah.
like even Square Enix knows like you have to get all those out in the same market at the same time.
yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Few more things.
Go for it.
Evil Within 2. I put this under rumor roundup because there was
Rumor
there was
roundup.
2 that I saw, or like
Round up all those rumors. quick.
basically 3 today. The one was the Pokemon thing. Next is Evil Within 2 seems to be in production at Tango.
Psycho Breaker 2.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't know that was the name in Japan.
Yeah,
Psycho Break 2.
That's an awesome name.
Yeah, job listing post in Japan, and it's confirming PS4 and
I
Xbox
should
One.
probably get around and playing that first game at
Yeah,
some point.
it's
huh?
good. I need to finish. I
Yeah.
really want to finish it.
It's a good one, and apparently still is actually aiming for this fall. So
Huh.
that would be interesting.
I can see that being their E3, their big E3 blowout.
I wouldn't.
Kind of like Dishonored was.
I'd be shocked if that was their blowout.
Not their blowout, but like their big surprise. Like, hey, it's out.
Yeah, if they did like out this year, but even then,
Yeah.
it's not the biggest title. But I'm still happy it's coming out though. That's awesome. And then also, there were apparent more details on Assassin's Creed Empire.
Oh yeah, I read this today.
Yeah, so I just kind of put down like the
The look on Charlie's face.
the short notes, and it's not a lot, or really a lot of stuff we actually kind of already knew
Charlie's
based
that-
on the Kotaku leak.
Charlie
but-
has that look on his face that just reads, "Impress me."
So first of all, and this kind of goes with what I think we've talked about this before, kind of like a restart, but they're saying it acts as sort of a prequel to the Assassin's Creed story.
I like that.
So-
kind of going back to square one. I can get behind
I'm
that.
assuming like you would do like pre-Desmond type stuff. Like when it says
I like
prequel, I'm thinking of like modern day
I
prequel
feel
stuff.
like we've had enough guns and like industrial revolution shit.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready to go back to like purely and a kind of a historical
Blades
Assassin's
and
Creed.
stuff.
Yeah.
This also this is essentially, I think, the fourth time it's been confirmed in rumors that it is ancient Egypt. You play as a former slave, and you're a distant ancestor of Altair.
That's cool.
And this is primarily being, how Ubisoft does, 5,000 fucking studios make a game, but the primary studio is the Black Flag studio. It's supposed to be much bigger than Black Flag, and apparently
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I was
because
gonna
Black Flag
say-
was big, but Black Flag was big because it was a big ocean and you had a ship to sail around in it.
yeah.
The prospect of a giant desert with some pyramids and cities
Yeah, that's
sounds
failure.
and of course, like if we're going by the typical Ubisoft open world that's going to be littered with shit everywhere, I don't know. I think that's kind of a turnoff.
I mean, I'll have to wait till we see it, obviously, but
I mean, to me,
Presumably, we're gonna see it soon.
Assassin's Creed is like a
like
joke
April,
now.
May, probably.
I don't know. I always leave an open mind for that franchise because I think it does enough cool things. I'm always ready to give it another shot. And the last one I played, I didn't hate. I really didn't hate Assassin's Creed Unity. I thought that was an alright game.
That's what I was about to bring up.
Yeah.
I'm so hit and miss with Assassin's Creed that like this one could come out and I could like it a lot, like I did with Unity,
Yeah.
and I liked Black Flag
I
a lot.
loved Black Flag.
I
Like,
think-
that may be the one game in the
Sorry.
series I absolutely like, just adored.
I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, and if you know it, just say it. But it is Ben Stiller's in this movie.
Or it's like a beaten
It might
housewife over
be-
here with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it's exactly definitely what it feels like. But it's Ben Stiller holding a baby, and it's like, oh, he was the last man standing. And then they do a sequel to that, and then he's got to do
Tropic
it
Thunder
again. Was that
Yeah,
Tropic Thunder?
yeah, Tropic Thunder.
To
Yeah.
me, that is what Assassin's Creed feels like.
Well, that's basically any ongoing video game franchise, if you think about it.
And the problem with that is that 1, 2, and Brotherhood were epic, fucking awesome stories, and everything had a nice foundation. And then they just like, bam, they took right the fuck off. And so now it's a different thing now. And I'm fine with that.
I think that was because a new writing staff took over and they kind of threw all the future shit that they were playing with out the window.
Yeah, and that's when I
But
lost
I'm
interest.
hoping, so the idea of this prequel has me hopeful that they play around more with the idea of the precursors and what they were. And it'd be cool to get like more exposition on that.
Mhm.
And I hope they lean into that. And I hope that there is a more, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I hope there's a more prevalent future aspect than just 1 or 2 cutscenes that we've been
Those-
getting.
I've always said those are
Like,
my
I
favorite
want something
parts.
that's reminiscent to 1 or 2,
Yeah,
basically.
absolutely.
Even 3 had some cool, not that it was executed perfectly, but I think 3 had some really cool ideas with the future stuff. Where you did have missions where you were playing as Desmond sneaking into buildings, fighting guards. I thought that stuff was cool. It'd be cool to see some of that stuff expanded upon.
What are you doing?
It's my attack mode.
I
Oh,
mentioned
okay.
something good in Assassin's Creed 3 and it made Charlie mad.
Yeah.
You
know, Assassin's Creed is just so hit and miss with me for me that like I'm not ready to just dismiss it because it's an Assassin's Creed game. But I'm also not like
That
overly
game
excited
literally burnt me on a scale of natural disaster
if
proportions.
they can impress me, I'm
Literally.
totally willing to give it. I'm totally willing to go in because it's been so
Yeah.
long since I played a game too, a game in that series too. Like I'm ready to go in. I just hope they take some time and perspective to look at their open world and their open world structure and design and quest design and collectible design, and they overhaul that to the point where it's not an overbearing mess like it has been in the Far Cry games and in the Assassin's Creed games. Because I don't know if I want to play another game like that. Like I just played Horizon. I even felt like Horizon was a little too much like that.
Agreed.
I remember a few weeks ago too that someone at Ubisoft said like it's not a guarantee that either Far Cry and
Empire.
Assassin's Creed
Because
hit-
Yves said that.
like even hit this year. And I think what he meant by that is one of them will definitely hit probably, but we're not going to
I
cram both
imagine
in.
it's only like soon, maybe within the next couple months before we hear about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I assume early May, probably before E3.
Because
I think
it's about
definitely.
that time now where we have our annual Assassin's Creed leak, right? Where the promotional material gets leaked and then
Some
Kotaku writes a
GameStop
story.
employee takes a picture
Like
of
it
something.
usually happens like every March or April.
Actually, the past two for Unity and Syndicate, and then
Well, Syndicate leaked super
Empire.
early,
They-
right after Unity.
well,
if I
I'm
remember.
saying that's what happened. But Unity, same thing after Black Flag, and then
Do you remember Unity because like they were on a plane,
yeah.
something crazy like that?
But yeah, this Egypt one did too, like way back in December of 2015. Then at this point,
Yeah.
was the same way where it leaked super early. That's why Ubisoft apparently is kind of like no on Kotaku. You know, I think Jason Schreier said in an interview they're sending them copies of stuff again. So
Yeah, I'd listen to that.
yeah, I think it's kind of settled down between them.
Still good for them for doing, journalism.
Ready to wrap up this week's episode?
That
Wrap
sounds
it and
good,
tap
man.
it.
I mean,
Why?
it's
Wrap
not.
it.
It's not.
So when you have sex, you put a condom
Yeah,
on,
ugh,
and that in which case you are wrapping it, the penis. And when you were tapping it, that is the act of having sex. So I just wanted to give you context for that joke, and the listeners context for that joke.
You're a terrible.
I think
person.
you did a good job, Tom.
Good.
This is episode
I should teach
102.
health classes.
This is episode 102. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or anywhere else you get your things.
Your things.
You know, I don't use iTunes. I use a different service. So,
What is it? What do you use?
oh god, I don't even know the name
Don't
of it.
even know.
No, I use Overcast.
Okay.
I don't know. I just like the layout better than the iTunes. iTunes is too busy for me.
Overcast.
Yeah.
Because a podcast,
Oh man.
and one might say when you have cloudy, foggy weather, that is overcast out.
Yes, that is what they
I
would
can
say.
see. I can see it.
Twitter at
I approve of that
DMasterCast.
joke.
Email podcastdmaster@gmail.com. We love to hear back feedback on the podcast, questions, comments, and concerns. We'll see you guys next
Any
week.
concerns,
Episode
especially
103.
about Joe. Especially
Bye-bye.
about Joe. Only about Joe.